So in the last video, I talked about how going through a difficult time, in this case, obviously coronavirus and COVID-19, is all about, first of all, getting crystal clear and accepting the reality of where we are right now. And then from there, number two, starting to look at how do we create what it is that we want to create, right? How do we move from where we are to where we want to get to? If you do want to check that video out, you can see it in the top corner right there. But in this video, I promised that I would talk about exactly how we can start finding those positives. Because let's be honest, it does seem pretty bleak right now, right? The future probably seems a lot darker than it did if we were having this conversation a month or two ago. But the point is, there is a very easy mindset shift that you can do straight away, which is going to allow you to get into that space of finding the positives, because there are many. And that is one word: value. Because I've been having a lot of conversations recently with some of my mentors. I've been listening to what they're saying about how they navigated through the 2008 financial crisis, and not just navigated, not just survived, but how they absolutely thrived as a result of focusing on this one word, as a result of focusing on value. And the key is this: in dark times, in difficult times, what do we all do by default? Right? We shrink into ourselves. We start naturally, and I'm not making this wrong, like it's natural, it's a human instinct, but we start focusing on what's wrong in our lives. You know, what are we fearful about? How do we protect ourselves? And it all becomes about me. Right? It's all about protecting ourselves. We go internal, we get stuck in our heads, we get trapped in the anxiety, we start trying to predict how things are going to go and how it's going to negatively impact us, and we end up down some anxiety death spiral about this, you know, the world is going to end thinking, right? And it's very different from getting real about the situation and then from there focusing on the positive. When we go into ourselves, we get trapped in this negative thinking and we start just projecting worst case scenarios constantly. Right? We don't see any way that we can move out of it. But when you focus on value, something happens. You start looking at other people in the world, right? You get out your own head, you stop focusing on yourself, and you start asking, how can I help others? How can I provide value in this difficult time? And suddenly opportunities start to open up. And here's why. When times get difficult, suddenly markets change, the situation changes, what people need changes. And because people suddenly need different things, right? In this case, we're going right back down to our core needs. When people are needing food, and you know, even supermarkets are empty. People are needing certainty, security. You know, we're going into quarantine, we've got isolation, people are going to need connectivity, we're going to need, you know, social alternatives to meeting people face to face. So there's a lot of things that people are suddenly going to need now that they didn't need just a month or two ago. I think of you. You know, how is your situation, how has your list of priorities shifted in the last month or two compared to what it was back at the start of this year? And whenever situations change and what people need changes, opportunities to find ways to give people what they need open up. And a lot of the time we kind of feel that we have to, you know, to provide value, we need to launch the next $1 billion business idea. Not at all. Providing value is about starting really small. Like if you're in a job right now and maybe some of your colleagues or maybe yourself, like maybe together you're all feeling very fearful about the future because companies' revenue's suffering, the management are maybe not dealing with it very well, you know, whatever the situation is, how can you create an environment to bring your colleagues together and turn this into a positive, right? How can you start looking at what ways that you can leverage your skills by helping other businesses? You know, maybe you're in, I don't know, project management or something like that. How can you start offering your services to businesses that are struggling, maybe freelance through a website like Upwork? You know, how can you use your knowledge to maybe create an online course to offer people some safety and security in these difficult times? You know, how can you and your colleagues come together? Or maybe you're a business owner. You're like, my business is going under. Maybe it was going under before. Well, if that's the case, how can you turn this around into an opportunity where maybe if the business was going to go under before this happened and now it's going to go under, this is maybe the biggest blessing in disguise that you need, perhaps. So you can cut the cord on this business, right? Now start focusing on what can you do to serve new markets? How can you create a business from this space that's going to help people in other ways that they now need? If your existing business is going out of business, perhaps it's because people no longer need what it was that you're offering. But there's a hell of a lot of, much more prominent needs that people have right now that you could serve as an entrepreneur. And then when we focus on value, something else happens as well. The most powerful thing is, because we're out of our own heads, right? And because we're simply just getting ourselves in action, providing people what they need, thinking of ways to help, we suddenly find ourselves in a position of real leadership. When people are, struggling and fearful and in difficult times as we are right now, people need others to step up and offer support and offer guidance and offer value. And when you're that person, you will find that there is more opportunity there for you to build the foundation for your future than you ever had before. You start focusing on giving everyone what they need, you will get everything that you need in return. And that is the difference between those of us that go into difficult times and let it destroy us, and those of us who go into difficult times and use it as the reason to step into who we want to be, to use it as the drive, as the fuel, as the fire, the thing that makes us, not the thing that breaks us. I'm reading a great book at the moment. It's called The Obstacle is the Way. And this perfectly summarizes this, right? The challenges are what will make us, allow us to get to where we want to get to. And the sooner we can recognize that, the more we're going to be able to focus on those positives. And it all starts with value. Just ask yourself right now, who do I know in my life that needs help, and how can I help them? And what will happen is you'll start seeing ways that you can then open that up to help more people and help more people. And before you know it, wow, you might actually be accidentally running a business. The amount of times that happens when people just get out their own head, focus on others instead of themselves, it's all about value. It's all about giving. So focus on that. That is the key for everyone getting through these difficult times. Right? We either become those that help, or others that help start to help us, and then we can help. It's all about just helping. I hope this makes sense. We've got to focus on those positives. And as I said in the previous video in this series, if we can, first of all, accept where we are, second of all, start setting those goals of where we want to get to, and now start focusing on how we can add value, that is the key of how we're going to move through this together. Thanks very much for watching. I hope this helps. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.